Hi, this is DarkFox127 and welcome to another Skyrim Creation Kit tutorial video. Today we're going to be doing a remake of one of my other videos, Conjurable Creatures, hopefully add a little bit more detail. So to get started, you want to open up your Skyrim and update ESM file, or if you're actually editing Dawnguard, it'll just be the Dawnguard one. That's if you've actually done the little tweak that you need to do to be able to do that. So first thing that you want to do is decide what you want to conjure. So in my case it's going to be a Spriggan. So what we're going to do, we're going to type Spriggan in the filter. We're going to go under Actors and Actor, and we're going to look for ENC Spriggan. Anything with ENC on the start is usually a good one to start with, because if you just alternate click and preview, they're usually the ones with the actual full-on sort of features in there. Some of them are not done in terms of it just being one creature. Some of them are leveled, so you want to make sure that you can actually see the creature, make sure you're duplicating the right one. First time we go in there, we want to click on traits, and obviously you're going to be pretty much fine just leaving most of the actual options. I'm not going to go through everything. I've got a create a follower tutorial that pretty much cover a lot of these menus, but you're going to want to pretty much leave everything. The one thing you're going to want to change is factions and the stats. Stats you might want to bump up your conjurable stats or lower them, change them. So you've got auto calculate, and you can change all the classes and everything and the way the stats are laid out. So you can do all that, or you can have it actually leveled to the player, which you don't usually do because you just do different sort of level versions of your spells, but entirely up to you. So make sure the factions are empty, nothing relationships or keywords. AI data, be sure that it's not very aggressive or frenzied, or you're going to have trouble. Just put it as unaggressive. Mood can be anything, really doesn't matter. You're not going to see a lot of facial features on actual creatures anyway. Of course, you don't actually have to do a creature. You could actually do an NPC, so that you're spawning sort of a humanoid, which is quite interesting. Confidence, you're usually good putting this brave or foolhardy, so it doesn't run away from battles that it doesn't like. Energy, you can leave, make sure it says help friends and allies, and the morality can be anything you want. You can put no crime, or just put any crime, because it's a conjure creature. It needs to be doing whatever you want it to do. Take off any aggro radius, and make sure that the combat style matches the kind of creature that you want, so that you haven't got a werewolf trying to fight like a frost troll, because it's probably not going to work. We're going to leave all these menus on the left for a minute for a good reason. Packages, you want to make sure that there's nothing in there as well, nothing really set. Inventory, you just need what's relevant to that creature or NPC. So if you're making an NPC that you're actually going to conjure, you're going to want to load it up with all sorts of armors and weaponry, so you can do all that. Again, most of this I'm not going to actually go through. So you've got spells and stuff. All this, if you've copied the creature that you actually want and just editing it, then you're fine on all of this. Most of this doesn't really need changing. So once you've changed everything in your tabs and put it to how you want, then you want to start ticking these boxes over here, because they tend to untick themselves after you've changed a lot of stuff over here. You don't notice, and then you wonder why things don't work. So what you're going to want ticking, make sure everything's unticked to start with, and basically we're going to be looking at essential, which means that they can't die. This doesn't mean that the time when it expires they won't disappear. They will still disappear at the end of the duration of the spell if they're essential or not. So it forces them to disappear. So essential just means that they're not going to die in battle as long as they're conjured, or it'll be more difficult for them to be. Might as well click unique, that's a good one. So the other thing that is very important that you click is summonable, otherwise they're not going to appear in the list that we're going to come across in a few moments time. So you obviously want to just rename it. One way to do it is alternate click and duplicate, edit the duplicate. The other way of doing it is how I've done it, is just double click into the one that you want to change. Make sure you change the ID. We're going to call it Summon Spriggan. Just leave it as Spriggan. Spriggan's the name that we're going to get. You don't have to put your name as in my Spriggan or anything, because it'll do that for you. So leave that, go ahead, click OK. This is the important part. If you haven't done the duplicate, you want to just click yes, because you want to make a new form, so you're not affecting the original. And then we should have our Summon Spriggan there. So we've got our Spriggan available, we just need to actually make a spell to do that. Now to make the spell, we're going to need a book to learn the spell from. We're going to need the spell to put on the book, and then we're going to need a magic effect to link with that spell. So that'll make more sense in a moment. So we've got 3 stages to do here. First stage, you want to go under magic there, and then magic effect, and you want to wipe out your filter and put summon in there. And we come up with all the current summonable things in Skyrim along the bottom. They'll all begin with summon and then their actual names. So you've got your usual familiar, Atronox, like well, everything in there, as you can see, thralls. So usually you want to just pick something that's close to the thing that you're going to be summoning. This time we'll actually alternate click and just duplicate. So we'll go with the flame Atronox because it's pretty close to a Spriggan. Duplicate that, edit the duplicate so that we're not looking up the original. And then we're going to obviously rename this to summon Spriggan, but of course we're going to have to add a little bit more on the end of the ID because that's what we called our actor, and it'll conflict if we went to do that. It'll say ID not unique, so just put effect on the end for the effect of it. Name, obviously that's wrong. We're going to want to change that. Anything now that says Flame Atronach in this menu, you just want to change the Spriggan. Just duplicating the current one just saves us a lot of trouble of actually having to set most of the keywords up and all the flags and the actual effects. You can change the effects if you want, visual effects and sound effects, but just make sure that it actually matches the kind of thing that you're doing, or it's going to look pretty daft. So we said that we need to change everything that says Flame Atronach. We've got it in the actual description there. That's pretty important. Otherwise it's going to be telling you that you're summoning something that you're not. So make sure you've changed that to Spriggan. It says for duration, so this isn't where you're going to put how long it's going to last. It's going to do that for you. So that will actually fill duration with whatever you select later on in the menu in the spell section. So don't worry about that yet. You can change a number of things here, whether it's a hostile spell and all that. Again, I've actually got a spell creation tutorial if you want to know any more about that. Shouldn't need to change any of this. The one thing that you do need to change is the associated item, so we're now actually going to link our actor to the magic effect. So go down and you should find your summon Spriggan in the list. There it is. Now up here, elemental potency, this is obviously linking with perks. So if you have a perk, it'll make it last longer, I think that one is. You can also add other perks. You can right click new, just yes to all if you get that, and say it has perk. Oops, sorry. Well, damn thing. You can go has perk, and you can have it linked with other perks and do all sorts of fancy stuff like that and have other perks affect the way it works. We're not going to bother with that. That's pretty much everything you need to mess with. You can actually, there's 2 ways that we can now do this with a Conjurer. We're just going to go ahead, click OK, no, and then yes, because we've already created a new form. So now that we've actually got our Summon Spriggan effect, you can either add this to a spell, or you can actually have it in as an enchantment. Now I'm going to show you the spell route first, which is the one that we'd want to do. Now instead of putting Conjure in the filter, we're actually going to put, sorry, instead of Summon we're going to put Conjure. Put in Conjure, and then we'll see a list of the conjurable creatures again, but in spell form. So again, we're going to find our Flame Atronach in here, alternate click, duplicate, alternate click, edit, or double click, and then we're going to change this to Spriggan. Get rid of any magic effects in there, you don't need them, they're the wrong ones. Right click or alternate click new, and then type in Summon Spriggan, there it is, Summon Spriggan effect, and now this is where we select our duration. The description will do it itself now, so we'll just say 60 seconds, and because of the perk that was listed, if you have that perk, I think that should make it last twice as long. So you just want to put it as 60 seconds, click OK. It's already done the range for us. You can actually make that larger or shorter if you want, so you can actually cast it from further away. Casting perk, this is pretty good if you want to set the kind of level spell it is. If this was a Spriggan Matron, we'd probably make it an expert spell because it's a lot more powerful, but it's still sort of about the same sort of stats as a Flame Atronach, so we're going to keep it at 25. Hand, you can have it, the left hand has to cast it, the right hand has to cast it either, or other ways of doing it like use your actual voice, but I wouldn't recommend that with something like a conjurable spell. You can actually change what it looks like on the menu, and it's usually MAG in front with whatever on the end for the different sort of magic item menus. We don't need to change it, summons fine, but if you were doing something fancy, you could change the item that appears in the menu and have it like a different coloured sort of special spell. Type, spell, you can set stuff as other things like a power or anything. You could have it as a power, but we're not going to be doing that. So we got that as Conjure Spriggan. The name still says Flame Atronach. Let's make sure that says Spriggan 2. Now the other thing that you can do, you can actually have it stay the way it is, which is it's going to take 0.5 seconds to charge in your hand, and then it's going to take 75 Magicka to actually cast it. You can untick auto calculate if you've done something a little different and a little crazy, and the game seems to think that you need about 4 billion Magicka to do it. Then you're going to have to do your own manual calculation, and you can say this takes 120 Magicka instead of 75, and whatever you type in this box, as long as that box is unticked, is actually what it's going to take. Or you can tick auto calculate like that, which I'm going to do, and you can leave it and have the game determine how much Magicka you should need and how long it should take to cast. You got some other options here that I don't recommend playing with right now. You don't really need to. Don't need to put a description. That's not actually the description that you're going to see in the game. That was stated in the magic effect. This is more for an editor's use, so you can put notes like, this is my spell. You could put that if you wanted, but we're not going to put that. We're going to leave that blank. Click OK. No, then yes. And we've got our Conjure Spriggan. Now, you can do it the enchantment way, so we could continue and just put that to a book now, or we can do it the enchantment way. The enchantment way is obviously going to enchantment, and again, we've got a list of a few enchantments here that actually let you conjure things. So this would be something that probably goes on a staff. Yeah, it'd have to go on a staff. It'd be a staff enchantment. Nothing else could do it for you. So again, you could right click one of these. We'll go with the Flame Atronach, duplicate that, right click edit, and then again you just need to change everything to Spriggan so you can have it work on a staff. You'd have to have it as staff enchantment, and then you could leave the, well, delete the effect and then replace that with Summon Spriggan. Again, we'll set this to 60 seconds. I might as well do both. I'll do the book and the staff, and then I'll show you them both. Again, you've got your auto calculate. You can have it cost so much of the staff's actual charge, or let the game do it, or you set it basically. So you've got the enchantment amount and cost to cast it, so it is a bit different when you're working with staffs. So you could put extend duration on recast, so when it's hit again it just extends how long it does, so the creature doesn't disappear, it just extends the time, which is quite interesting. I haven't tried that. I think that's what it does. We'll go ahead and say OK, no then yes. And we're going to do the spell first. So obviously we've got our spell made, we've got our staff enchantment, but we need to put our spell to a book so we can actually learn it, and we need to actually put our enchantment onto a staff. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to go into book, and again conjure in the filter. We've got a few conjurables here. If you just have a preview, you can see that the book's a nice purple one to state that it's a summonable creature sort of book. You could grab any other book if you wanted. So if you just went in to edit it, you could actually use any sort of book in the game and duplicate that book and then use it for this purpose. But we're just going to play it safe, and we're going to edit one of these instead. So we're going to duplicate it, and then we're going to edit it again. Change this to Spriggan. Really simple steps really. You're just replacing it all with your actual Spriggan now. So something else you might get here, I might get it in a second. Yep, it might try and correct your spellings. Just click ignore all, let that go. You can change the value of the book, how much it's going to be worth. Of course, people selling them on the market might actually sell it for about 4 times the price, so you have to be careful. So you're not typing how much people are going to be selling it for in this box, you're actually typing how much it's worth, but people never sell things for what they're worth. They obviously sell them for more, so just be careful of that. So if you've put it up at 100 and someone's selling it for 5 and you're like, well, that's a bit pricey, you'll have to notch it down a bit. Weight, you can have it weigh something, or you can actually get rid of the weight so it doesn't actually weigh you down. Spell, Conjure Spriggan, there we go. So we've obviously just got everything in place now. Our spell's just appearing in the list as it should do. If it doesn't, go back, make sure that you haven't unticked something in the menu, or make sure that you haven't done something wrong. Double check everything. I can't help you if something doesn't work. Don't leave comments saying this doesn't work. Just double check everything. If it hasn't worked for some reason, then it could be your kit glitching, because the creation kit has got a lot of bugs. So you've got to really be careful there. I think we're pretty much done, apart from Flame Atronach there. You've just got to be careful. Sometimes you'll end up missing something quite simple, like I nearly did. Okay, no, and then yes. And we've got our book ready to be able to learn from. So the other thing that we've got to do is a staff. So that's all that's left. We obviously want to go into weapons. There we go, conjuring the filter again. We've got our staffs. We'll copy the Flame Atronach one. We'll edit it. And it's really that simple. Bit different with the staff now, as it's actually already got a template set up. So you just want to get rid of the template, and then make sure that everything's set correctly for a staff. I'm not sure if it is. You'll have to check that over yourself. It should be. Yeah, it looks like it because it's got the keywords, so you have to double check the keywords and everything, make sure it's all okay. As long as you've copied an actual staff template and just removed the template and not switched it over to another one, then you should be fine. The enchantment, obviously, we're going to go down, and there's our Spriggan one. Everything's appearing as it should. You can change how much charge it has, so we could make it 2000. Depending on what it takes to actually cast the enchantment, you might need to pump the charge up. So if it takes 100 every time to conjure up a Spriggan, then you're going to want about 1000 enchantment, and that will give you 10 conjures. Bit of simple math. Value, we'll have it worth 500 gold, and obviously leave the template replaces all of this. So double check everything, make sure it's playable. A few basic things, you can change things, you can make sure NPCs actually use the ammo of it, so if you give it an NPC they can actually be using the charge. I'm going to leave that unticked. Make sure everything's set correctly basically. So we're going to go ahead and say OK, no, and then yes. And then you want to save your mod, and then you want to go in game, check everything's working. Obviously you're going to want to put your book somewhere and your staff somewhere, so I'm just going to go and dump it in Riverwood somewhere, and I'll see you in game. Okay, so here we are, we have arrived in Riverwood, and I just dumped my stuff on the floor. Obviously you're going to want to put your stuff somewhere more relevant. And I have my staff for conjuring a Spriggan. Obviously I've made a bit of a slip up and I've accidentally kept the Flame Atronach on there, but as you can see in the description, it does say Spriggan, so you just got to double check your names and stuff, make sure it doesn't put things in wrong. But this should now conjure up a Spriggan. There we go, have our conjured Spriggan, and that will actually die after 60 seconds. Like I told you, it's actually named it the Prisoner's Spriggan because this is a COC character just called the Prisoner. Now we'll just try the actual book itself. So if we go into books, there it is, Conjure Spriggan, click on that, new spell learned, Conjure Spriggan. There we go, and we've conjured a Spriggan. So there we go. Thanks very much for watching. Hope the video is really helpful. Please leave comments. Just like I said, if you've got any little things gone wrong, then just double check your work, make sure you haven't slipped up anywhere. You can now actually join my Steam Steam group if you want to keep up to date with everything in terms of my mods and my videos. You can follow me on Twitter at DarkFox127Pro. You can also check on my Facebook as well. You'll have to go to the website to that, so if you just want to go to the website, there's loads of links on there. You can follow me all over the place on my social networks or not, so entirely up to you. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you next time.